What is going on, everybody? Today, we have a custom-made hammer core and cover guide. The reason I say custom-made is because the Brunswick brands do not release core and cover charts for the strength of their bowling balls. In the past, we've covered Storm, Rotogrip, 900 Global, and Motive and showcased what their core and cover strength charts actually look like with all of their bowling balls on it. Unfortunately, the Brunswick brands do not release anything like this. If anybody knows anyone from Brunswick, please ask them to do this. But what Hammer does is actually give numbers to a couple of the categories on their bowling balls. So they give a 1 to 12-ish rating. Sometimes it gets higher than 12. 1 to 12 rating of the core strength, the cover strength, and the finish strength. Today, we're going to ignore the finish strength. That can be done. That can be made whatever you want to. That is just like the surface of the bowling ball. If it's 500 grit, 1,000 polished, etc. What we're doing is looking at the core and cover strengths. What I did is I culminated all of this information together, put them on a sheet, and I made a nice little cute little graphic. Don't judge me because I'm not an artist. But I put it on a graph so you guys can tell how strong different hammer bowling balls are. If you enjoy what we do here, if you enjoy any of these guides, make sure to drop a subscription. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, almost at our 1-year anniversary of the channel. I'd really appreciate if you drop a sub and help us get there. It's the best way to support the channel, and it's completely free. Otherwise, if you want to talk about any of this information, we do have a Discord down in our description where you have almost 500 other bowlers who love talking all the nerdy things about bowling balls, about league, about arsenal building, etc., etc. So I'd really appreciate if you go join that. That is also free, by the way. But let's get right into it. Let's get into what we have for these bowling balls. So we have the core strength and the cover strength of all the Brunswick bowling balls made in the last 2-ish years. So let's start with the core side. What we have is all the core names along with pictures of bowling balls that match that core, that have that core. On the top of the list, we have the Extreme Envy, the strongest bowling ball hammers made in the last couple of years. But going down the list, the Pure Envy has a slightly different core than the Extreme, as we kind of knew. But then you have the Huntsman core, the Effect core, the Effect and Special Effect is actually very high on this list and also stronger than the Gas Mask. Very, very interesting to see that Gas Mask not as the strongest one on the list, which is why those Black Widow bowling balls are never the top of the bag. They're always a step below that. But we have the Black Widow and the Black Widow Mania and all the Black Widows of the past with that Gas Mask core, arguably the best core in bowling. We get down to the Hazmats after that. We have the Hazmat Hybrid Solid and Pearl that come in next, which are actually stronger than the High Rev Offset 3D Offset Assault core. The 3D Offset Assault is an ASIM. The Hazmats are symmetrical. So remember, some symmetrical cores can be stronger than ASIM cores, something very good to keep in mind. Going down the list, we have the Spheroid core. That's a very middle of the road core, just like the LED 3.0 core. The Spheroid is on the Hammerhead. The LED 3.0 is on the Scorpion Strike. It's kind of interesting. I didn't realize this, but LED is what is on the Purple Hammer and the New Blue and the Black Hammer. So what's on the Scorpions is actually just in upgrade / an addition to those original LED cores. Kind of cool, kind of cool. But then further down the list, you have the LED 3.0 Scorpion Low Flare core. That is much, much weaker. Between the LED 3.0 and the LED 3.0 Low Flare, we have the Tour cores, the Obsession Tour core and the Huntsman Tour core. These are, as we know from the Effect Tour and Envy Tour, a little bit weaker cores. We're going to get onto their cover strength in just a second. But those are kind of middle of the road / the bottom half of our core guide. Going down the list, we have the Modified Infamous, the Vibe, the Raw Hammer core. We have the LED cores and the Bullet. Now, I have LED on here twice. It's not a typo. It's because Hammer kind of messed up on their website. I'm assuming it's a mess up because the New Blue and the Purple Hammer have the exact same core, this LED core that I mentioned. However, the New Blue's number, like for strength of the core, is stronger than what the Purple Hammer's core strength is. I think that was an oopsie on their part, so I put it on here twice just in case something weird is there where it isn't an oopsie, but something good to know there. At the end of the day, the core strength is something we can determine as consumers. All cores have an RG number, a differential number, and an intermediate differential. We can determine how strong a core is based on those numbers. So that isn't anything too crazy. Cover stock is where we can't differentiate anything. A cover stock is just a name, and that name can be anything. So having an actual number makes this super useful. But as you can expect, that Extreme Envy has the strongest cover stock with that Envy CFI Solid. It's not used on anything but the Extreme Envy. Going down the list, we have the HK22 Cohesion cover stocks, the Solid, Hybrid, and Pearl. These are very high on the list. I fully expected the Envy cover to be higher than these, but the HK22 Cohesion ones are higher. So that's the Special Effect, the Pure Envy, the 3D Offset Assault, the Effect, the Black Widow Mania, all of those really strong ASIMs that Hammer drops, they usually have this HK22 Cohesion cover on them. So very interesting to see. Going down the list, now we have the Envy core or cover and the Effect Tour cover. Now, as we know, the Envy Tour is a little bit stronger than the Effect Tour in all ways. As we can see on the core guide, it's actually a little stronger. The Envy has a little stronger core. On the cover guide, the Envy Solid has a slightly stronger cover stock. So those are the differentiations between those two bowling balls. And then the Obsession Tour would fit right where the Effect Tour is at the end of the day. But then, actually, these have stronger covers than the Black Widow 3.0, which has HK22 Aggression Solid. So that Aggression Solid is actually weaker than the Envy Tour and Effect Tour. Going down further from that, I didn't realize this. The Hammerhead has the same cover as the Black Widow 3.0, except without HK22C. Kind of interesting. I didn't really realize that. But then we have the Envy Pearl cover stock on here. Now we're down to the Semtex series cover stocks, the Semtex Solid, Hybrid, and Pearl. These are on all of the hazmats. They're also on the Scorpion Low Flare, so very, very interesting there. And also, we don't have it on the list, but the Scorpion Strike is also on here with that HK22 Semtex Pearl. So we do have a gap between all of the Semtexes. We have HK22 Aggression Hybrid and actually, that's just it. HK22 Aggression Hybrid actually splits the gap between all these Semtexes. That's what's on the Black Widow Hybrid. A lot weaker than the original Aggression Solid. There's a lot of cover stocks between those two bowling balls. So the Black Widow Hybrid can actually be used on less oil, which is kind of interesting. Some of you probably already know that just based on experience. Going down the list, though, one of the funniest ones is Juiced Pearl on the Raw series is stronger than what's on the Anger and the Vibes and everything else. I would not have guessed that. I think, in my opinion, the Arctic Vibe has a stronger cover stock. The Arctic Vibe cover stock is super buffed. However, it's weaker than the Raw series. I don't know if that's an oopsie. The Raw numbers came out like many more years ago than the rest of the things on this list. So they might have different people making those numbers, or they changed their scale or something like that. Very, very interesting. On the bottom of the list, we have our urethanes. We have not urethane stronger than urethane Pearl, which is stronger than urethane 78D. Now, I have one gripe with this, and this is with all urethanes, and this adds to the misconception that urethane should be used on dry lanes. They shouldn't. Urethanes are actually the strongest cover stock. They are not the weakest cover stock. Urethanes hook earlier than everything else on the market. So in reality, the Urethane Pearl 78D should be on the top of this list. They should be above that Envy CFI Solid. That is just how those cover stocks are. Now, the other funny thing, the not urethane, I think actually deserves to be on this bottom. It's a reactive cover stock, but it's absurdly weak, as you can see from this. That's why the Blue Hammer, the new blue, is so good on house shots, is because it's such a weak cover stock. But with that, that is all of our cover stock names and their strength values. Now, how accurate is this is only based on how much time Hammer actually puts into putting these numbers on the cover and core guides. If they don't put much time into them, then this list isn't that great. But if they do, this is fantastic to have. And a lot of this we could have guessed at the end of the day. We have all of the ASIMs on top. We have all the symmetricals in the middle / on the bottom. Now, if you want to see the actual numbers, here is an Excel sheet or a Google Sheets sheet with all of the bowling balls along with the numbers that they have for the core, the cover, the finish, and then it has the actual core name, cover name, and then the box finish. This is very useful if you want to see the raw numbers. I have this filtered currently by all three of those numbers added together. So that's where the Extreme Envy is the strongest, then the Pure Envy and the Assault, and on and on and on. So I'd recommend getting a snip of this if you want this for the future. As a consumer, what can you do with this? I will always recommend, as a consumer, when you're buying a new bowling ball, don't just buy it before it comes out. Make sure to do a little bit of research. Find out where that bowling ball fits in your bag. So use these numbers, use the other Hammer bowling balls you have, get these numbers, and see where that bowling ball is going to fit, that new ball is going to fit. Is it going to be on top of something else? Are you going to have a situation where the Black Widow 3.0 and the Hazmat Solid all weirdly have the same total numbers? They are different, but you don't want to buy something just like those if you have them both. You want to buy something very different. You'd want to buy like the Hazmat Pearl, which is a way different cover and core number. So use that as a consumer. Hopefully that helps. Hammer, please actually make a true guide for this so that I don't have to. But otherwise, we will be adding to this guide over the coming months and the coming years for any new Hammer bowling balls coming out. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a subscription. It helps me out a ton. Make sure to drop a like, and I will see you guys on the next one.